And welcome back to the fourth video of UiPath RPA Project 2. So you can see the details about what we are going to perform in this UiPath RPA project. You can pause the video here and go through the details on your screen. This is the schedule for publishing the video of this UiPath RPA project. And before that, we have already done one more project, UiPath RPA Project 1. So you will get the link of the project playlist in the description of this video. Now let's start today's agenda. So in this project too, what we have done the project introduction. We have done completed this data extraction from website one. We have completed data extraction from website two. Now today, what we will do that we will complete this, consolidate the data and insert that data into SQL. So this is our project folder. Along with the extraction and data insert into SQL. Before that, what we have to do that in the main file, we will invoke or we will call these files. If you are doing Java programming or if you are doing .NET programming, then we call all the functions in the main. So the same way we have to call these both UiPath RPA workflows in the main. So let me show you what is inside these workflows. So this is daily data extraction. In daily data extraction, we have these many actions: arrival, departure. I will not go in the detail because I have already presented and we have already developed these workflows in the last two videos. This is Mumbai data extraction. Here also we have four different sequences and six or five actions inside these sequences. So to get in detail, you have to watch my previous videos if you are new to my channel or if you are new to this project. So in both of these workflows, Delhi and Mumbai, what we have taken, we have created one variable for file path and we have kept some default value to it. So now what we have to do, we have to remove this value because now this value will come through the argument from main workflow. So now we have deleted from variable to argument we have to change. Okay. So in the previous video we have used as variable, but now in the final stage of the project we will use as argument to receive the value from main workflow. All right. Same thing we have to do in Delhi also. Now I will close this file. I will save and close. Go to variables. Right click on your variable. Convert that into argument from here. And then you have to delete this default file name. Now save this UiPath workflow. Now let's go to main UiPath workflow. Here is the main, and I will close this Delhi data workflow. Now first thing that we have to create a variable for deciding the folder path and the file path. So what we want to do is that we want to keep the date stamp. We want to create the folder using date, and then we will create files from a UiPath write CSV activities, and we will use the date in that file name as well. Today's date, we will create the variable. Okay, and then we will pass the default value date time dot now dot today dot to string, and then we have to give the format. So whenever we create the folder we should use underscore because sometimes it can create a problem when you are using the path with hyphen sign. So what we will do is we will keep the format dt underscore mmm underscore 4 times y. This is how we will keep the format of this variable value. I hope you can see on your screen. Let's get one UiPath sequence, and in this UiPath sequence we will use UiPath activity for folders and files. Control Shift T is the UiPath shortcut for activities. Now as a good practice, keep this name as create folder. So first action, what we have to do that if folder already exists. So for that, in UiPath to check file already exists, or in UiPath to check folder already exists, we use path exist activity of UiPath. So in this path exist, you have to change this to folder because we are checking folder here, and then you have to give the path of the folder which you want to check. So our folder is inside the project folder. We don't have to give entire path. In your project, if you see that your folder is on some other location, not in the project folder, then you have to give complete path. As of now, we will use only today's date variable value. We have to store the result of this UiPath activity into one variable. So you have to come in the output section of this UiPath, and in the output section, you have to do Control K. By Control K, UiPath will automatically define the type of the variable, and then you have to write the name of your variable, folder status. And then we will take one UiPath if activity. In if activity, you can again do function F2. Function F2 will is the shortcut to rename your activity, and then you can write check folder. And then you can pass the result of this path exist activity here, folder status. So if we have folder already exists, then we don't have to do anything. So we have to leave this activity blank, but we have to click on this show else. In the show else section of the UiPath if condition, what we have to do that we have to create the folder because this the result is false. This is a boolean variable, and you will focus on the variable, and you can over on this variable, and you will see the type. So the result is false. Then what we have to do, we have to create the folders, and you can fetch the UiPath activities from left hand side panel also. You here is the activity. Sometimes you can see that this side also it will come. Okay, and then we have to take one create folder, drag it here. And which folder we have to create? The same which is not exist. So we will use same value today's date. Now let's check only this, save and run. The execution is completed. Now let's see if the folder is created in our UiPath project folder or not. So here you can see the folder is created. Timing is here also. All right. Now this is one sequence. Next, what we have to do, we have to invoke first workflow. So we have already converted the variable in the argument, and we have to pass those argument when we will use UiPath invoke activities to invoke the workflow files. Control Shift T, UiPath shortcut to get activities, and then we need invoke workflow file. This one. And before that, let's take this in the sequence. So I will take one sequence again. Sequence, cut this activity, go inside the sequence, and you can paste here. And let's rename the sequence. We will keep Delhi sequence, Delhi, that is sufficient. Delhi data, it's Delhi data extraction. Okay, now inside the sequence, before we are now we have to we can select that file. Okay, so we can click here and then directly we can browse the file. So this has taken me to the project folder, Either you can select from here and select Delhi flight data extraction file. So when we will click on open, it will come and then we have to click on import arguments. So how many arguments are required? Only one argument is required as per this project explanation. You might have four, five, or multiple argument values which you have to pass in the UiPath. Okay, so now for this argument we have to create one value. So we will create a variable here. I will use UiPath assign activity, and then when you will come on this side, you can do Control K. UiPath will by default create a string variable, and let's name that variable value CSV file path. So to keep the clarity about the variable names and the UiPath arguments, what you can do, you can make some difference in the variable names and arguments names so that you can understand. So in out one of the UiPath way to create variables, but even if you want to give further differentiation, you can do that. So let's create this file path now. This variable is created. Now we have to assign the value for this variable. So you can write directly here as well. I will use expression editor. We already have the folder today's date plus we have to keep the file inside this, so we can use this backward slash plus. Now in the file name what we want daily data file, and then after that we want a underscore in between, and then we want to use again the date stamp so that we can understand which date file this is. After date, what we have to finally give in the name, we have to give CSV, which is the file extension. So the folder inside the folder, this backward slash is indicating inside the folder. The name will be starting from daily data file, and there will be one underscore, and then again today's date variable value, and then it will be CSV. Okay, then we will save this. Now same thing we have to do in the another sequence. So let's create one more sequence. Control Shift T, UiPath shortcut off. Getting activity list. Function F2 is the shortcut. Function F2 is the UiPath shortcut to rename. Now by data. Alright. Same thing we have to do. Here what we can do as we know the sequence now. So we can take one UiPath assign activity, and then we can create, we have to do Control K, create the variable Mumbai CSV file path, open the expression editor from here. Value our folder is today's date plus if you have long path, then you have to give that preset first master path here, and then we have to indicate that yes, we want to go inside this folder. In the last activity we have taken another plus here, but that is not required. That will work, but that is not required. So in this we can directly start from backward slash, and then we can give the name of the, we can give the starting part of the file name Mumbai data file, again underscore, after underscore we want to see the date in the name, today's date plus we want to see, we have to give the extension of the file name. This is how it will look. Click OK, and then now we have to take one Invoke activity, invoke workflow file. You can rename this activity also, but I will leave that for you. You can do yourself. Select Mumbai file, and then you can import the arguments. This also have one argument, and we have already created the variable to pass the value. Mumbai CSV file path. Let's save this. I have closed the browser. These are the old files, so you have to ignore these files. The file which will be created now, and these files were created when we were doing the development of these two workflows. The files which will be created now will come inside this folder. Okay, let's debug our workflow. If you don't want to see the steps, you can run the file. But as this is the first time, so I will debug. It has clicked on domestic, and then it has clicked on arrival, because first we will download the arrival data. I think there is some error, that's why it is blinking. So let's check. Yes, there is an error in the workflow. Write CSV cannot be null. So I think the value which is the now we have, I will stop and explain. So if we see the argument, so this is the main workflow and this is the child workflow. In the argument, we have to pass some value here when we are calling this workflow inside main workflow. All right. Now let's go to the main, and then you can check, open this, click on the arguments. There is one argument, but we have not passed any variable which is giving the value to this argument. So this variable we missed to pass, Delhi CSV file path. Okay, now just click on OK. If you have any doubt, you can mention in the description. I will reply in detail, and then save this. So as of now, I will close this browser myself, and then after first test, we will change the setting so it will be automatically closed. Save. Now let's debug once again. If you want to see the debug window, you can just come back to the UiPath Studio once you have started the project. Like from here, you can click here. You will be able to see all the details here. So it has clicked on domestic arrival. Now it has clicked on domestic departure. You can see domestic is clicked and departure is clicked. International it has clicked now. Arrival is clicked. Page is loading. And now our UiPath bot will go to the last sequence, which is departure, international departure, to download the data. And UiPath bot have completed this Delhi data extraction. It has moved to a Mumbai data extraction. So UiPath bot will go to all these four tabs. First, departure for domestic and international, then arrival for domestic and international. So you can see that all the tabs will be clicked one by one in the same sequence. Now it is going on arrival. It should go to domestic first, and then it should go to international. Execution is completed successfully. There is no error found, and logs are printed here in the output section. Now let's go to the folder and see if files are available. So you can see both the files are available, and the data structure which and the date name which we had created, name format which we had created is same format. Okay. and the data has also come in the same format which we have decided in the last two videos. So you have domestic arrival. When you will come down, you will have departure, domestic departure, international arrival, and international departure. International arrival, international departure. All right. So this is working fine. We have invoked the workflow successfully. So two different. Hope you have the clarity now that if you will have 10 workflows inside a project, then how will you call all those 10 workflows into the main workflow? Or we can say like that in the programming language that if you have 10 different classes or 10 different functions into different classes, how will you call those functions inside main function? All right. Now next is that once these files are created and we have invoked the workflow successfully, we have to insert this data finally in the database. For that, we have to create the SQL connection and then we have to insert the data directly from Excel in bulk to database. All right, so let's start. First of all, we will create one sequence and let's rename the sequence UiPath shortcut function, and we will keep this insert data in SQL in database. DB. All right. So first of all, let me show you the MySQL. So here is the MySQL server which I have started already, and I have created one database RPA DB, and there are two different tables. So this is the table creation query I have already created, but you can see from here, okay, you can see the entire query on your screen. This is the Mumbai data table. Okay. So one thing which is critical to remember that your this is the file header of the file should match the header of the SQL tables. Then only you can use bulk insert. Okay, so this is Mumbai and this is Delhi. So best thing is that when you are creating the data table, that time you copy column names. Same thing which I have done here. Okay, let's open the SQL Object Explorer once again. And now I want to show you the tables which are already created. So we will click on a new query, select star from. So this is the table name here, Delhi data. So as of now, you can see column names are same as in the file. Same with Mumbai data. I could just notice that there is a column missing from Mumbai. So in Mumbai, we have one more column serial number, and then after there is flight. And here we don't have any flight column. Okay, so let me just delete this table right now. Table, and then you can give table name Mumbai data. Okay, so when you will refresh this from here, you will see the. So now you can just disconnect and connect again. You have only one table. We already have the query available, table creation query. What we can do after serial number, we can add one more column, which is flight, and then comma. So I think the data which is more is in the flight column. When you will drag this here, you can see. Let me increase the length, and let's make this 250. Okay, execute. Command completed successfully. Let us see the form. Execute. So you have all the columns available. I will close these files now. Let's get back to UiPath Studio. And now we have to use UiPath database activities. So if you don't have UiPath database activities, you can add the package from here. Now, first of all, we have to go to the database activities. When you will write database, you will have the list of all these activities. Let me know in the comments if you face any challenge in this. So first of all, I will take this connect, and connect is to create the new connection. UiPath connect activity is to create new connection. If you want, you can rename. Now you already know how to rename the activities. And we have to provide a connection string. So it is the same way in .NET or any other programming we create the connection string. So here is my connection string. I will be adding the password. Okay, and this is the syntax. If you are using the SQL authentication, but if you are using Windows authentication, this will be your connection string. Okay, so let's copy this one from here, and then click on OK. If you are new to SQL and you want to know that from where to get the server name, so you can just disconnect this once and connect once again. This is your server name. I will be back to UiPath now. So we have the server name, and then we have to configure this connection. Basically, we have to select the provider now. So I am using this system.data.sql client. If you are using MySQL, you can use MySQL client. And for other, you can try with ODBC or OLEDB as well. Okay, so here these are the details. Now we have to create one output variable. Go inside, click inside the section, do Control K, and then give a name, RPA connection. Okay, so we have the connection now. So now next thing what we have to do is we have to read the CSV file. So for that we will take read CSV activity. So you might think like why we cannot transfer the data from the data table to SQL. Okay, so why we are reading and we are converting in the new data table? Yes, you can directly write these all activities here as well. Why I am doing like this? Because I wanted to keep all the things separately for the learning purpose, because I assume that this video will be watched by the new learners, not by the expert learners. Okay, so I am reading the file, entire file once again. Let's do first of all for Mumbai, and you can rename this function F2 Mumbai. Read the file. From where we will read the file? This is the file. Okay, so now you see this will change. This date you can change. Remove this, hit space. When you will hit space, you will have all the variables. So today's date, the variable which we have created, use plus sign, and then you just have to replace this date part as well. Use double quotes inside that plus sign and today's date. But this path has become the Delhi file path. So let's rename this activity once again. Use this for Delhi. We can create a new data table, dt Delhi file data. All right, you will see the same value here also. You can minimize this activity. Now next, we have to use bulk insert. So bulk insert, we already have a connection, so we can use existing connection, RPA connection, and then we have to give the data table. So this data table, when you will put the cursor, this is the data table which is created from CSV. So dt Delhi data file, and what is the table name in? You have to give this in code. Delhi data. Now we just rename this for identification. Bulk insert DLSI Delhi data. Now we have the connection already, so we don't have to create the connection once again, but we can directly read CS, and again you can just select the path and then modify the variable values here. This will be, this has to be deleted, delete, and space, today's date, plus sign you can use, and then you can delete this date because this value will be changed. I hope you are understanding this part. Create a new value variable here, go inside the output section, control K, dt Mumbai file data, function F to rename the activity Mumbai, and then bulk insert. This is the table name, destination table name. Okay, so our destination table name is Mumbai data, and our data table, which is the table created from CSV, is dt Mumbai file. So you just note one thing: the sequence here first is the data table and then table. Here first is the table and then data table. So don't be confused in the sequence. Let me give the connection name, RPA connection, existing connection. Click OK. All right. So let's get back to the UI path and try to run the workflow now. Execution is successful. So let's see if data is available. So I will select this same query, click on execute. So you can see the data is inserted from the file. Okay, now we will check same in Delhi. So in Delhi also data is, in Delhi table also data is inserted. All right, so what I will do, I will delete the data and then I will try to run the entire flow once again. I will be back to UiPath, and then let's connect all of this sequence and make it live. Okay. And before we run, what we can do is like we can change the browser settings as well. And browser settings are inside these files, so you have to open it from the folder. I have opened both the files, Delhi and Mumbai. Open this browser, and in this activity you have close options. So you can select if opened by app browser, means if it is opened by the workflow, then only it will close, otherwise it will not close. So you can select this. There are other options also which you can explore. Save the file, close the file. I am closing the file so confidently because we have already tested everything in last two workflows. So you can come here again, open if open by the app. You can select never, you never want to close the browser after completing the activities, or you can select always also. Okay, but if open by the app, then only we should close. We'll close this, come back to UiPath, main workflow, save everything, save all option is also here, and then debug now. So this is this start to end run. Browser is closed, you can notice. Delhi airport website is opened by UiPath RPA bot, and UiPath RPA bot will download the data in all four combinations. Right now, domestic, and it should download first domestic arrival. It has clicked on arrivals. Table loaded. I will just quickly do control minus so that you can see. It is international arrival, now international departure. The data extraction is started. Now bot will go to all combination. So first of all, UiPath bot will click on arrival for domestic and then departure for domestic. So once that is completed, next sequence which is inserting the data. I think processing is done. Okay, so we will see the if the files are available or not. So files, you can see files are available and you can match the timing from here. Okay, now let's see if the data is available or not. We have already deleted the data, and if data is there, then it will be the fresh data only. So you have the Delhi data uploaded, and then you have the Mumbai data also uploaded successfully. All right. So I hope you understand this entire project. So this was the entire project all about. We have completed the project, and if you have seen this project, you think this is useful, please share this into your social media or in whichever forums you are available. That will be really helpful for me. Please like the video. That might help me to reach more people, and share your feedback in comment. Thank you very much for your time. Let's Happy learnings.